We are here today with Valor Public Schools out of Austin, Texas. My name is Jessica Post. I'm our Director of Programs here at Families Empowered, and I'm very excited to be here today with one of our school leaders at Valor and also one of their great parents as well. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So Connor, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so my name is, I'm Dr. Connor Hill, and I'll be head of school for Valor's North Austin campus. And I'm also a proud parent of 4 Valor students. I've taught a number of different grade levels from middle school to university and taught in a number of different settings as well. So really excited to be launching Valor's North Austin campus, which is in North Austin, right off I-35 at Wells Branch. So we're excited. We'll be opening up kindergarten through 8th grade.
Awesome. And Ms. Fauner.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Erin Fauner, and I'm a proud Valor parent. We're currently at Valor South, but we will be transferring to the Valor North campus in the fall. My son is currently in 5th grade at Valor, and we have had a wonderful couple years just with the incredible culture of Valor and the incredible community. So we've had a wonderful experience, and we're really excited about Valor North opening up in the fall.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here today. For all you guys who are watching and listening in today, Families Empowered is a nonprofit organization that is focused on helping families get connected to schools. And so we are so excited to take this task on virtually and be able to bring in some schools and talk with them, have some Q&A with school leaders and parents. If you have a question or a comment, please comment below. And you can see on our banner there that if you ask a question, or even if you just say hello and put a comment there, you're actually going to be entered to win one of our gift baskets from Raising Cane's. So we will be looking through all the comments, put everyone in a raffle, and we'll message you to let you know if you are our winner. So please make sure you can just say hi or post a question, and we will get to it throughout this chat. Perfect. So what we're going to do first is I would love Dr. Connor to talk us through just what makes Valor unique. Tell us a little bit about y'all's mission, and you've already touched on grade levels that you serve. If you can say that again too, that'd be wonderful.
Yes, so Valor North Austin will serve kindergarten through 8th grade next year, and then we'll build out the high school over the next 4 years. So Valor Public Schools creates the highest quality K-12 tuition-free charter schools, educating the whole person for authentic freedom and a full human life. So that's our stated mission. And I just want to say a few words and hit some of the highlights regarding that mission. I mean, first of all, this mission, there's a number of fundamental commitments that belong to this mission. We conceive of the highest goals of education to be educating our students in wisdom and in virtue. And that's what we mean by a full human life. We want to educate our students to be wise and virtuous young people, and so that they can be truly great citizens as they enter more fully into society. There's just 2 things I want to say about how we go about educating our students in wisdom and in virtue. One is the primacy of Socratic inquiry-based teaching. So I'll say a few words about that. And then I want to say a few words about school culture. So Socratic inquiry-based teaching. At Valor, we conceive of teaching as the art of assisting discovery. So we want to help our students to see and to discover all of those wonderful things in math, in science, in literature, in history, for them to discover those things for themselves. And so the way in which we aid them in that discovery is through what's called Socratic questioning or inquiry-based teaching. So we ask them questions, and through asking them those questions, students are engaged in thinking things through. And as they think things through the guidance of their teachers, they're led along a path, seeing at every step of the way and coming eventually to that discovery and that realization and that sense of wonder that happens when you see something for the first time, or see something that you've seen before in a newer and deeper way. The other piece here is Valor's intentional approach to school culture. So as we know, culture shapes our attitudes toward one another and things. And so at Valor, we cultivate our students in certain habits of behavior, certain ways of relating to one another, of relating to their teachers, and really engaging and shaping them in such a way that they become attentive to one another and to what they're studying in class. And through that attentiveness and that engagement, we see joy and we see true and authentic friendships. So I can say more about these things, but culture and Socratic inquiry-based teaching are two key ways in which we bring our students closer to wisdom and virtue and toward that full human life.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Ms. Fauner, can you explain a little bit of just what being a part of Valor means to you and what really drew you to the school originally?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So we have a background in the classical education methodology, and so we were really excited to hear about Valor coming to Austin and just the experience that the leadership team brought, and the classical methodology really caught our attention initially. And so we were really fortunate to get a spot because there was a lottery system. And so when we got that call, we were really honored and excited. And it's been an incredible experience. We were actually at another charter school at one point, and I just, there was kind of a dark cloud that had gone over my son, and I was just a little bit worried about, I felt more of a disconnect. He seemed more quiet. And then when we transferred him to Valor, he just lit up and he came back. We were like, we've got our son back. And I think a lot of that has to do with what Dr. Hill was speaking of in terms of the culture and the way that they have really cultivated this experience between the teachers and the students, and just this common like seeking truth and goodness and beauty together and exploring that and discovering that. And so there were just so many little details that we noticed early on, even in the lunchroom conversations, where, you know, the kids might start to drift toward Pokemon or Fortnite or something, and a teacher would gently say, you know what, hey, let's talk about that book that we were reading in literature class, and what did you think about when the character did this? And the kids just came alive, and it was just so neat to see this positive, gentle, respectful, nurturing environment where my son no longer was feeling pressure to conform to certain pop culture things that really were exclusive. We weren't allowing him to play Fortnite at the time. And then at his old school, that was all they talked about in the lunchroom. And so here he was able to engage, be accepted. And it's a very welcoming, diverse community where everyone just really seems to get along so well, because the teachers in the school have fostered this this common journey, this common discovery that everyone gets really excited about. Like, learning is cool at Valor, and I just love that.
That's awesome. That is so great to hear from a parent perspective, and it definitely sounds like there's this just great sense of community at Valor. So we've got a lot of questions that have come through, so we're going to switch over to some of these so they don't get lost in the comment pile. One of the first questions from Miss Jenny is that she is already one of your family. She's coming there for kinder and first grade in the fall. And they are just really curious, when will they be able to tour the new campus in North Austin?
So no, thanks for that. So we're eager to get you all inside to see this this beautiful campus that we've been renovating there off I-35. And so right now we're wrapping those renovations up by the end of the month or beginning of June. And then we have to wait on the fire marshal. So we're in conversation, and we're with them so that we can get that done. So likely it's going to be, depending on how long the fire marshal takes, it's going to be a July time. But there's also a possibility, if you go to Valor Public Schools Facebook page, myself and Valor's chief operating officer, we did a hard hat tour last, well, I guess it would have been maybe 2 weeks ago. So you can go on there and get at least get a sense of what the building looks like through that tour. So that'd be a starting point, but I'm expecting mid-July or so.
That's awesome. Here after this video, we'll comment that link so that it's here for that hard hat tour. That's really a really great way to see. Thank you for that. So we also have Miss Rachel. She is curious about the STAR test. So you guys have talked a lot about your different methodologies in teaching. So let's talk a little bit about the STAR test, if that's what they take, or any other assessments.
So as a public charter school, all of our students will take the STAR test, like other public schools. And so, the way in which we approach that test is different, though, and distinct from other schools. So, I mean, generally, sometimes you can see that the STAR test is really perceived and communicated to the students as the culmination of the school year. And there's STAR posters on the wall and other sorts of things. But for us at Valor, what we want to really focus on and give our students is this beautiful classical curriculum, which does prepare them for the STAR. And there are certain questions perhaps that might occur on the STAR that they wouldn't get within our curriculum, and we're apprising them of those so that they can feel confident and well prepared. But our real focus is giving them this beautiful classical curriculum, and you can find a curriculum overview on our website. So that's our focus, although we do take the STAR and like other Texas public schools.
Gotcha. Ms. Fauner, can you speak to how just the STAR test has seemed different at Valor than it hasn't been at previous schools? Just like the essentially maybe the pressure put on your students, or just how they talk about it?
Yes, I'm so glad you gave me the opportunity to mention that, because that was a huge part of our transition. At the old school that we were at, everything was about the STAR, and they had these big boards on the walls about, who ranked, the different rankings and scores, and there was a lot of pressure. And my son would come home saying, oh, I'm so nervous about the STAR test. Oh, I'm so nervous. It's just, 6 weeks away. It's 5 weeks away, et cetera, et cetera. And when we switched to Valor, he came home early on saying, Mom, I still have to take the STAR test, but it's going to be okay. I'm not worried anymore. And Valor did do a few, maybe a month or so before the test, did a few practice, things to go through so that the kids were familiar with the format of the test. But other than that, it was hardly mentioned, and there was no pressure. It was very much of, this is something we're going to do, and we're going to do it with diligence, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't define our school. You're not a failure if you don't, there was just a very different approach to it, where it was the same test, but the pressure was just off. Again, and my son just lit up at Valor. He just, he was ready for this STAR test, and he did a great job.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much. So our next question comes from Miss Lisa. She would like to know, are all of your teachers certified at Valor?
So as a public charter school, our teachers don't have to be certified. A number of our teachers will be certified, but we don't require all of our teachers to be certified, because one of the most important thing for us, perhaps the three most important things for us at Valor in selecting teachers is mission vision alignment. We really want our teachers to be lit up and on fire with Valor's mission and their desire to be part of that, and their desire to really educate and teach within that. We're also looking for faculty of high moral character, because as we know, teachers are primarily a model and an example for their students. And then, the third most important thing is subject matter expertise. And so we're looking for teachers who have an expertise in history and science and math, and or in the primary grades, who are just excellent homeroom teachers. So those are the primary things, and that we're looking for. There's a number of other ones as well, but those are the things that drive us, and not simply say a certification, although many of our teachers will be certified.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, so we've got another big question. This is one that's very popular on our Facebook Live so far. Miss Elizabeth would like to know, have you guys made any plans or decisions for next fall, next school year, about distance learning? So, in a perfect world, we all get to go back to school in the fall, but if that doesn't happen, what does that mean for Valor and for the students and families?
Great. No, thank you for that. So we've we've had a tremendously successful distance learning program that we launched over spring break, and that we've tweaked it. We've done parent surveys, and we surveyed over 300 sets of families, and 97% of our families agreed that the distance learning program was either excellent or good. So we had a tremendous feedback there. And what's important for us is that there's a continuity between what we're doing on campus, in the classroom, and the rich classical curriculum, and the encounters that our students are having with teachers on a day-to-day basis, that's in continuity with what we're doing in terms of distance learning. Because we don't want to do a separate thing from our mission. It's how does our mission now apply to and fit into a distance learning format. So at least looking at the fall, we haven't made any decisions about what we're going to do in the fall with respect to that. However, we're planning for a number of eventualities, and I'll just mention a few of those so you can get a sense of it. One is whether we have to launch Valor North with distance learning. So what would that look like, right? We're thinking that through. What would it look like if we started in person, and then as kind of the flu season progresses, we have to go back to distance learning? What would it look like if we had to incorporate some form of social distancing into the school day, such that some students are coming on certain days and other students are coming on other days? What would we do if there's a number of students or families who are really concerned about the health risks? What the student, all sorts of things in planning for that, and really being proactive, but we haven't made any decisions. With that, I'd like to invite Mrs. Fauner to share her thoughts also as a Valor parent about the distance learning program as it's happening right now at Valor South.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Sure, I'd be happy to. We've had a good experience. We've really been impressed with the incredibly quick turnaround, first of all, that the leadership was able with such short notice to put together the platform as well as the curriculum. So very quickly after we got back from spring break, we were rocking and rolling, and it was great. My son has really enjoyed it. I've been highly impressed at the teachers' involvement as well. So each teacher has a 30-minute office hour time slot each day. And so my son's been taking advantage of those. And sometimes there are a few other kids with the teacher, and sometimes, there have been quite a few times actually when it's just been one-on-one tutoring, basically, which you think about how much you would pay for that in the private sector. It's like, wow, this is great, like Spanish and, literature and math and science. And so the teachers have been incredibly available and supportive. They've really been encouraging my son to really even go beyond the lessons in many ways, and just as he's able and interested and engaged. So he's eager to learn. The platform that Valor is using has been seamless. It's worked very well, and they've done a really good job of figuring out how to have different formats for different needs. Some things are more online and some are more paper-based, and you can upload assignments as needed. And it's been a really great experience for us. And of course, he misses the in-class experience, but even each day he has a short little homeroom Zoom call where they all log on at the same time and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and the teacher has some, kind of thought-provoking questions, and they have a little discussion. And so that's been really good because he is very much my extrovert in the family. And so I have felt very empowered as a parent to be more involved in his education, which I have loved. But then at the same time, I haven't felt isolated at all. I have very much felt like part of a team in teaching him. So it's been a great experience.
That's awesome. And just as a reminder, what grade level is he in again, just for the families that may have just joined in? Sure.
Currently, he's in 5th grade.
Okay. Awesome. That is so great to hear. We have got some great questions here, guys. We're going to just go on to the next one. So Miss Anna is familiar with the classical curriculum, usually having just a pen and paper approach, but online you guys talk about how 21st century technology is incorporated into your curriculum and to learning. So she just wanted to know, what does that look like? I know right now, obviously, we're doing a lot of digital and technology, but in a typical day, what would that look like for you guys?
Just on a typical day, there's math and there's reading every day, and then throughout the week there's there's science and there's history and art and music and Spanish. So we have a special schedule, and then PE is worked in as well. Do you want to share a few thoughts on that, Mrs. Fauner?
Sure. Yeah, I think, right now, obviously, there's more of a focus on technology than ever because it's essential. And so, it's just a good reminder that the medium doesn't define the education. It's just a means to an end, and the end is a full human life. And so leveraging technology when that makes learning easier, and then holding back on technology when it's impeding the discovery or the creativity or the wonder even. So I think right now, obviously, we're on screens more than we normally would be in a classroom setting. One thing I think has been really great, just as an example, is the classical methodology, if you're not familiar with it, has a big focus on what we call the great books and just really quality literature. And so it's been neat. All the kids' books are still up at school and we haven't been able to get them. And so, now we have ebooks of these great works of literature. And so that's an example where normally we would have the physical books, but, now ebooks, and that doesn't stop the discovery of the beautiful work of art that this book is. And so, another example too in the classroom that really impressed me compared to other schools that we've been a part of is the science curriculum. And it's just been very hands-on, and they've done incredible things. They have a great gardening program, and that's not technology specifically, but just something other than pen and paper, where they're outside and they're doing their science journals and they're learning about how plants grow. And they were part of planting these gardens and maintaining them. They had a session where they had worms brought in, dirt and all sorts of stuff. And so just lots of really great hands-on science kits that my son has really enjoyed. So that's been a great experience too. I will say that this summer I will be doing some keyboarding practice with my son, because with this distance learning, oh my goodness, we need to learn how to type.
I bet you and a lot of other parents.
Could I jump in on that one as well? So I have to apologize. I was, as you were asking that question, there was a ruckus outside my door because we're all working from home. And so I got distracted and I thought we were still on the distance learning question. So I apologize for that, but I feel quite silly. But such is life right now. But so just in terms of technology, the biggest thing for us is we want our students to have encounters with one another and with their teachers and with these beautiful books and stories and the garden and whatever they're doing in science. And we emphasize and we build a culture of encounter, which requires a certain attentiveness. And so what can often happen is that the technology comes in between the students and one another, or the students and the teacher, or the students and what they're studying. Whereas we want to be hands-on. And so there's a really important educational decision that's made when we think about limiting the use of technology and using it only insofar as it facilitates that encounter, and because it can be tremendously distracting. So we want to make sure that we're only using it if it facilitates that encounter. Otherwise, our students are discussing things with one another in person with their teachers, touching these things and exploring them, etc. So.
Gotcha. Thank you. And definitely understand my little ones out there too. So everything beyond the door. Just hope
it was a ruckus.
Yeah, it's okay. So we have another question that this one's really great. I think this is really important. You guys have talked a lot about classical education. So if you've got a family, it looks like you got one on here that is joining y'all in the fall, and they haven't been a part of the classical education before. And is there anything that they need to do or can do to prepare their kiddos before they start school in the fall with the classical education? So if you're coming from no classical education, how can you prepare for that?
I think the most important, maybe take a step back. I think the classical mode of teaching and the emphasis on Socratic instruction, it's really intuitive in the sense that as human beings, we are questioners, and we talk with one another. We enjoy conversations, and we like to pursue things that are of interest to us. And so, there's not a whole lot of training. I mean, we do give our students training when they're on campus, but prior to that, I think, just engaging, reading books together and discussing them, asking your children questions, and just, pushing into certain things that they're talking about. I think that would be a great start. Maybe, just change up the dinner conversation one night and discuss a poem or discuss a book or something like that. I think that would be good preparation. But in my experience, students who are coming from a traditional educational environment, maybe one month or 2 months, and next thing you know, they're in the mode, and they're learning in this new and engaging and exciting way. So there's not a whole lot, but
Yeah. Ms. Fauner, did your son have any challenges going from non-classical to classical? It sounds like there really may not be, but in y'all's experience, what was that like?
Sure. We started initially in Montessori and then switched over to classical. And so it was actually surprisingly smooth. You would think that classical is maybe known as more structure, and Montessori more freedom and child-centered. My son didn't have any problems at all. He just jumped right in. To respond to the question, I think a few things we can all do over this summer. One tradition that we've done as a family is in the summers we have popcorn reading hour, where I pop popcorn. Now, we started this early on when my son was young and didn't know how to read. So popcorn reading, in that I would read a sentence, he would read a sentence, or I would read a paragraph, he would read a paragraph, and we'd do it over popcorn. And that's just continued over the year. And so, if you could just Google or look on Valor's website for a classical reading list for the grade levels of your children, and pick out a few quality books from those lists and read those, an hour a day as a family, just to cultivate that love of literature. I think that's a fun way just to kind of whet the appetite. A couple other things that I would encourage, in the elementary school, classical really focuses on memorization and just working that muscle of our brains to get used to, because kids are sponges, and so they can just memorize so many facts so much more quickly than we can. So even things like practicing math facts over the summer, or phonograms, there's some great apps. Spalding has a phonograms app in the App Store that we use just to kind of keep things fresh. We use Rocket Math for our math facts. But, kind of thinking through some of those things. There are some great authors out there too for classical education. Susan Wise Bauer is one of my favorites. Charlotte Mason has some classical ties. Christopher Perrin, Dr. Hill, I'm sure you could mention many more. If you want, as a parent, to really understand what classical education is, I think that's something that's really valuable when the school experience and the home experience are really aligned in terms of the mission and the vision for how we want to raise our children and educate our children. So anything you can do over the summer to just even be speaking the same language, even understand what we mean by the good, the beautiful, and the true, or the great books, or these things that are such a core part of who we are as a classical culture of a school, I think is really helpful. But definitely, I love what Dr. Hill said about just having these question-based discussions about meaningful topics over the summer. I think is a great way to get your kids excited.
Awesome. Those were so many great resources. If you remember all the ones that you just said after this video chat, I would love if you could put those in our comments, because I feel like we've got a few questions related to how parents can prepare their students going to classical education, so that'd be wonderful. We are going to skip along. We've got another question here. Miss Emily is curious about where she can go to find information about rankings and educational stats for Valor. And I think another question that would go along with this too is just, how can parents see how Valor compares to like their school next door or the school down the street, just to see kind of apples to apples?
I mean, first of all, just in terms of TEA ratings, you go to the Texas Education Agency website, and you can look up information on all different schools in terms of star testing data, basically, is what that is. I think, I mean, unfortunately, I think the most important thing to in order to really distinguish one school from another, and we're not able to do this right now, or we'd be happy to have you, is just, is getting on campus and going in and looking at what's happening on a day-to-day basis. What do the classrooms look like? How, what are the students discussing? What's the feel of the place? How are students relating to one another? What do the hallways look like? We throughout the year, we have tours every week, and because what we're doing, and again, this is getting to culture. When you see all of that, it makes a huge difference.
No, that's great. I know everyone, it's hard because we're used to being able to go in person to check a school out, but these Facebook Lives are really great. And I would assume maybe we can do another one later on down the road to offer even more opportunity for families to check out the school and learn. Okay, so we've got another great question here. Anna Robb is interested in learning about what Valor's practice and policy related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. She's really curious how this is fostered in the student, faculty, and staff population, but also just like within the physical environment. So pictures on the walls, the classical curriculum you guys are reading about. So how is diversity and inclusion shown in all those areas?
Great. That's a great question. I mean, one of the things I didn't get to talk about, but we have a number of fundamental commitments that flow from our mission and our vision. And one of those is the affirmation of the dignity of every human person. And so we as an organization, so these commitments shape our culture. We affirm the dignity of every single human person. And so, of course, that is going to mean, regardless of where they're coming from. And so just in terms of thinking about the physical environment, we'll have a number of different pictures on the wall there, and those are going to be both from classics of American art, but also just the classics of the Western tradition, which is really at the heart of our classical curriculum. Thinking about women and people of color, as far as pictures and all that goes. I mean, I think about the South Campus. There's a number of really beautiful pictures. There's one that's called Ride to Liberty, and there's another one of a banjo player. I'm not sure if we have Frederick Douglass and some others that are on the walls. And when we think about the readings, our students in 9th grade are reading W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington. And so they're reading a number of these primary texts from the African American tradition. But then they're also reading Willa Cather, and in 9th grade, I'm just trying to think about some other there's a number of female and African American and other authors scattered throughout the book list. So we really want the most expansive scope and really see this full human life. Mm-hmm. So we're incorporating things in order to give our students a sense of that.
Great. Ms. Fauner, do you have any examples that you've seen as a parent so far, just in how Valor has been inclusive and just really honoring diversity at their school?
Sure. Yeah, I would just say, similar to what Dr. Hill says, that the focus is really on the commonalities, the shared human experience. And so they've done an incredible job of just minimizing barriers. And my son truly is just like, when I would go and visit him at lunch, like he doesn't, there's no discrimination. Like he's a kid, and everyone else around him, they're just kids, and they're just kids together, and they're just having this shared experience. It's very, very beautiful. And one example I did think of is a friend of ours. They're a family at Valor South, and they actually didn't really know much about the classical tradition. That wasn't their main draw. They were really drawn by the no bullying policy. They had some trouble with their son being bullied at another school, and they've just had a wonderful experience at Valor because Valor just doesn't tolerate bullying. And it's more than just a shutting bullying down. You can take something away, but you have to replace it with something good. And so, taking away the negative pressures and really filling that space with beautiful things that draw the kids together. So my son has felt very, very included, and also very inclusive. Like and I really appreciate the diversity. I believe about a quarter of the student body at Valor South qualifies for free and reduced lunch. And I think that is something that I really value, that Valor has worked really hard to recruit those families, and has really brought this great high quality education to everyone. And I really, really, that's really important to me personally.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that answer. We have a relatively easy question for this next one. Mr. Heel wants to know, do you guys provide transportation at the South Campus or at the North Campus?
So Valor, we're not able to provide transportation, and there's some, that's primarily not because we don't want to, but from a point. So just to give you a bit of background. So public charter schools receive about $1,200 less per student than say a district school. And so that means that, that some of those things that we would like to be able to provide, like transportation, we're not able to. But however, one of the things that we want to ensure and that we're doing is connecting families for the sake of carpooling. So the past couple of weeks in our Valor North Austin newsletter, we've been putting a link in there for a carpool survey, so that families can go on, they can answer the questions in this survey, and then we can begin to link families who are coming from a similar area so that they can arrange carpools, so that we can overcome, whatever obstacles there are to getting, your child to Valor on a day-to-day basis. So we're getting creative in that regard, and families have stepped up because they're really keen. Also, the kind of families that we have at Valor are keen to bring, to do whatever they can to help families who for whom transportation might be an obstacle to them sending their kids to Valor. So.
Gotcha. That's wonderful to hear. So just to repeat back, you cut up just a little bit. Valor does not offer transportation in the traditional sense of school buses, but they try extremely hard to connect folks for carpooling systems. So the school and parents are all really committed to ensuring that transportation is not a barrier. So if you have transportation questions, concerns, definitely reach out to the school leaders to see how they can help you guys out and to learn more about the carpool system. So another relatively easy question, Ms. Murray would like to know, do you have any plans to expand beyond Austin? So we've got some Houston folks here on the call or on the video chat, and they're curious, might you come to Houston, or are you going anywhere else?
So right now we're planning our third school in Austin. And so, but then after that, there's a number of different options which Valor Public Schools as a network is considering within Texas. So I think the best thing for that is, if we know that in a particular area there are a number of interested families, that's definitely going to be really helpful for us as a network as we begin to think about school number 4 outside of Austin. So we're committed to 3 schools within Austin. Valor North is the second, and then we're actively sort of planning for the third school, which will open up in 2022 or 23. So
okay, wonderful. So the next question we have is back to talking a little bit more about instruction. Our Miss Adela is curious about differentiated instruction in mathematics. At the bottom of your curriculum at a glance on online, it talks about differentiated instruction for mathematics, but curious if this is also for reading instruction and what that looks like.
Yes, so we'll do differentiated instruction for math, and then students will do, they're going to be doing our curriculum. I guess it depends on what age, but typically in kindergarten through 3rd grade, we're going to introduce them to the Singapore math curriculum and really help them cultivate those skills of understanding. Now, when we think about the little bit of math homework, say that a 1st grader is going to bring home or a 2nd grader, that's one of the areas in which we can really begin to differentiate, is giving your student that extra some extra problems or some challenge problems to really facilitate their growth and nourish their interest. One of the most important things for us is if we have a student who's really interested in math and really excelling in math, we want to make sure that we're feeding them, so they can continue to grow in that area. And then when we start getting into 4th grade, 5th grade and up, we start sectioning students according to math ability and math level. So that allows us to differentiate once we get to those grades, and that'll happen all the way through to the high school. Now, in terms of reading too, I guess at the younger grades, we're in K3, we're taking a similar approach. We're thinking about if students are reading every night at home, which is what we ask our students and our families to commit to, then what are those books that again can really nourish the student? There's some different ways in which we can pull out in the individual homework, and some work with students on a differentiated way as well in both those areas. But just on the whole, Socratic instruction really allows for differentiation, because as a teacher, you're able to focus the questions and ask questions, those higher level questions to those students who can really grapple with that higher level thinking. So Socratic teaching is great because it's not one directional, but the teacher's really able to differentiate and cater to the individual students. And as you get to know the students, you find out what's interesting for them and what they're capable of, and you can really guide them along in that way.
Awesome. So we have another question similar to what's going on in the classroom. Do you guys have a student-to-teacher ratio that you like to keep at Valor, and what is that?
Yeah, so the student-teacher ratio is between kind of 12 and 14 to 1.
Okay. And is that for all grade levels?
Yeah, that'd be an average across the school. If you in class sizes, in the middle school, class sizes run about 20 students, and then in the younger, in kindergarten and 1st grade, there's a homeroom teacher and a teacher's assistant, and then in the average there is going to be about 25 students or so.
Okay. Wonderful. So we are short on time, but we are going to go through some of these questions that we can get through quickly. And then what I would just ask of you guys and for families, if you still have questions, please put them in the comments. After this video chat, the Valor team will go through and they can answer your questions individually and comment back, to the specific question. So if we don't get through it on here, be sure they'll go back and they'll add in your answers there. So the next question that we have here, I'm just going to go in order, is how's the safety of students ensured during a regular school day? And we'll flip real quick. I'll go to Ms. Fauner and talk about just ask you, like, what do you feel like your student is safe at Valor, and what kind of systems do you already see in place as a parent to keep their safety at top priority?
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the expert, so I definitely will default to Dr. Hill on all the things that they've implemented. But yes, I do feel like extremely safe at Valor, that my son is safe there. I mean, the doors are locked. We have to go in and get a little badge, as a visitor when we enter the campus, and all the exterior doors are locked, and they have systems in place where, there's just a lot of structure to the day. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room, I guess, for kids to get in trouble or, for something to go wrong. I mean, it seems like they run a pretty tight ship. So I have felt very comfortable with the measures they've taken. Dr. Hill, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, just to jump on. So one of the things we're doing at the North Campus, just as we prepare to, is we're doing a full safety analysis, and so we're making sure that we're bringing experts in who understand school safety and at that expert level, and we're hearing from them and wanting and getting a report from them about what we need to do to make sure it's a safe campus. So, in addition to sort of key cards and single access points and all those things that are somewhat basic, and faculty training in a number of different areas, that's something else that we're doing up there. So,
gotcha. Thank you.
If I may add one thing to the previous question about the reading levels. Yeah. And I've seen a question come in too about dyslexia specifically. So my son actually has a 504 plan. He was diagnosed with mild dyslexia and before coming to Valor. And so I just want to speak very highly of that team. The coordinator met with us right away when we arrived at Valor, and we put together a plan, and they've done a very good job of accommodations, both in testing as well as in the classroom. We've had an ongoing dialogue in terms of, did he need the pull-out program? I believe they use, it's an Ortham and Gillingham based program. Basic language skills, I believe.
Yeah,
basic language skills, which I believe Ross and Saunders uses, the dyslexia school here in Austin. I believe it's the same curriculum. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. So Orton Gillingham is great. It's very similar to Take Flight. If you're familiar with Take Flight, the program that AISD uses. And so we've had a great experience.
Wonderful. So our next question is related to after-school programs, but I'm going to tie in another question that's on here is just talking about the school hours and when actually school starts in the fall. So if you could just talk us through those basic logistics, that would be great.
Yeah, so we do have an after-school program, as Miss Ginny. There's a small cost, so it's a paid-in program, like in other areas, and that runs from the end of the school day. So for K-5, that's going to be 3:10 until 6 p.m. There's also, we have a number of early release days, and so that after-school program will run until 6 on those early release days as well. So there's it's a pay-in program. We have a punch card. There's a number of different ways in which we want to make it really convenient for families who maybe use it regularly and those who might use it on occasion. So,
and will that be offered at the North Campus too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
So what was the other question again?
Sorry, the other question was just what day does school, like when does school start in the fall if we go back regular?
So it's Tuesday, August 18th. I want to say it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, August 18th, I think. So so we're starting on a Tuesday this year so that Valor North and Valor South can stagger start dates. But yeah, that mid-August there.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, next one on here is talking about if you still have spots available and how does the family apply to become a Valor family?
So yeah, we still have a few spots available in a number of different grades, and so to apply, you go to Valor Public Schools website. There's a register tab, and so you go on there. There's a school access system, and then you can register for your student. I highly encourage it at this point. We have about 400 families registered right now, and families are registering on a rolling basis. And but we're still making offers right now as space becomes available, and so we'd be thrilled with if you're interested in Valor And there's a decent possibility, depending on the grade, that you could get a spot. So.
Awesome. And so in our comment section, we have linked the Valor Enroll link there. So make sure to go check that out. We have a few more questions before we wrap up. So Miss Lisa is curious. We had a question of this earlier. Can you please speak more directly about the inclusion of LGBTQIA individuals? Sorry, a lot of letters. And just talk a little bit. We talked about diversity inclusion before, but if you can speak directly to those individuals, that would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, just affirming the dignity of every human person is at the heart of everything that we do at Valor. So, that's going to include QIA individuals as well. In terms of kind of specific policies, we really, we just, yeah, we're welcoming to everybody. I don't know what else to say to that, but we really affirm, the individual. So
yeah, and it sounds too. I heard Ms. Fauner say that there's just a very strict no bullying policy. And
absolutely,
I loved how you said it, Ms. Fauner, of taking out something negative, but putting back something positive for students to talk about. So that's something I loved. That you should quote that and put that somewhere in a parent handbook, because that was great. However you described that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to, let's see. Colleen would like to know, you've talked about this with differentiated instruction, but well, maybe you already did answer this. So how do you meet the needs of students with learning differences? So talked about differentiated instruction that way, but can you talk about it specifically with distance learning? I think that's something we may not have covered.
Mm-hmm. I guess just thinking about learning differences, so different learning styles. Is that perhaps that's what I'm gonna roll with that.
Yeah, go for it.
Again, the way in which, at least in a normal classroom environment, the way in which Socratic teaching really allows you to cater to the individual student, because it's not just the teachers talking at the students in a particular way. Also, the discovery component, there's a lot of hands-on stuff, both for math in terms of using manipulatives, and then in terms of science, it's an exploration, discovery-based science program. Spalding Phonics is a program. So again, we're engaging those students who perhaps might be habitually, learn in an audible way or a visual way. We're engaging all of those things throughout the day. Now, in terms of distance learning, obviously that becomes quite a bit more of a challenge, and I think that's where those office hours that the faculty have every single day for students to get that one-on-one time, with their teacher. That's really where that's going to come in. Again, there's a way that an online learning platform is limiting in terms of flexibility, but our teachers are doing, they're doing videos and all sorts of things to really try and engage the students. And then we use Core Knowledge, and Core Knowledge has some different books in which the books are being read to the students, in addition to the students, say, reading on their own. So there's a number of different things there.
Wonderful. Our next question comes from Miss Dixon. She is curious curious when you guys will have a Valor North Parent Facebook group set up. She's eager to connect with other Valor families. Is that coming soon?
Yes, it's coming soon. Again, there's been some, needless, or not needless, but some some delays on this that we haven't been able to surmount, just in terms of personnel and things like that. So, but yeah, we're really eager to get families connected, both in terms of Valor parents as a whole, and then also for the specific grade level groups as well. So we want to make sure that we're connecting families both across the school and then at different grade levels, so kids in first grade can all connect with one another. So I expect by the end of the month here, we'll have that squared away, ready to go for you guys.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to take, I know we're still getting some more questions in, but I'm going to take about 2 more questions, and then we'll do like a quick little wrap up. And like we said earlier, if we don't get to your question in the video, our Valor team will make sure to go through and connect with you within the comment section as well after this. So Ms. Dixon's also curious, what's the max number of children that are going to be in the kindergarten classroom?
In a kinder classroom, the max is going to be 27. So that's
Okay.
with a teacher and then an assistant teacher.
Okay, gotcha. And then Emily Hopkins, she is curious of Valor's outside of Texas. I know we don't have any locations outside of Texas, but can you talk a little bit about how Valor originated as a school, how it was founded?
So the founding, the founding team of people at Valor had worked at a public charter school, in a classical public charter school in Arizona, and then they were brought in to launch that, I guess, the Texas branch of that public charter school. So, but then they really desired to take all of the knowledge that they'd gathered over the years and craft a unique, a unique vision for education that's instantiated at Valor Public Schools. And so the charter, they applied for the charter, and there were a number of families and sponsors in Austin. And so that's why Austin ended up being the place where we launched. So, and then the charter was approved in 2017. And yeah, so that's kind of a broad strokes history for that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but both founders are still very much a part of Valor today, correct?
Yeah. So the president of Valor Public Schools is the founder. Yeah, and he's and then there's a number of others who are on that founding team. So the superintendent was one of that founding team, and he's also the acting head of school at Valor South Austin. And then the chief operating officer was part of that group that launched Valor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're still a part. Okay, so we have, well, here, let's do these last 2 questions. I hate to leave anyone hanging. We got a few more minutes. So Ms. Adela is curious about grammar instruction. Do you have a specific curriculum you use for that?
So we use, in middle school, we use the Well-Trained Mind, which is the title's escaping me, but it's a Well-Trained Mind grammar book for middle school students. And then at the primary, we use a classical academic press book. There's, I want to say it's Well-Ordered Language is what it's called. And then there's a writing and rhetoric book as well. So, but, and then can I jump to this last question?
Yes, for sure.
Credentials. So for a teacher assistant, there's no minimal credentials there. We'll give you a lot of training and all of that, but it's really an assistant position, and the lead teacher in that classroom will be doing the majority of the work, and then whatever they'd ask you to do, we'll give you the training on that. So,
gotcha. And I think I know the answer to this last question. Jocelyn's curious if you guys will follow AISD if there's any changes to schedules. And I don't believe you guys are still going to make decisions for Valor specifically, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So with regard to any closures or anything, we're making our own decisions because on the one hand, our students are coming from all over the Austin area. And so when we're thinking about, say, a closure with respect to weather or these other things, it's really something that we need to, we need to think about our community and our families, and then make the best decision for them. Whereas, in AISD, usually, you're looking at like a neighborhood school or something like that. So,
and this would also, sorry to interrupt, this would also be for reopening. If AISD had a reopening policy, that was something you guys would make your own decision, correct?
Yes, I mean, we're looking at what local school districts are doing, but we want to make sure that what we're doing, the decision that we're making, is good for our families and our community.
Perfect. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much to our parents and families that have been commenting. This has just been so great. I had a whole script of questions that I was going to use and didn't have to use a single one because we had so many that came in through the video chat. But thank you guys so much. I'm going to just do one quick wrap up. So going to say again, with Families Empowered, we are doing a lot of these Facebook Lives. So we have Valor on today. We're going to have a few schools, one from San Antonio coming on next week. We had Houston last night. So definitely stay tuned. And for anyone that asked a question or said hello in the comments, you're going to be entered to win a gift basket from Raising Cane. So look at your Facebook messages and we will message you to let you know. And what we'll do here is, Miss Fauner, if you could leave us just with what you would like to share to a new Valor family, what would be, or someone who's interested in Valor, what would you share with them today?
Apply. It was the best decision we made. I mean, just choosing your child's school is such an important decision. And I'm just so grateful for Valor. And especially since we're going to go all the way through high school, I mean, we're set, Lord willing. It's been such a great experience. And, our daughters will be going to Valor North next year. And so we're going to be an all-in Valor family. And we love it. We love the people. We love the teachers. We love the leaders, the staff, the other families, the students. We've just had an incredible experience. And I was really nervous because it was a new school, and I was nervous about, the bumps and just the growing pains of a brand new school. And I've just been blown away. And I've talked with many other families as well, that we've all just been so impressed at how few bumps there have been. These guys have their act together. They know what they're doing. They're experienced. They're so committed. They're so approachable, so compassionate, so humble, and yet incredibly wise and intelligent and articulate. It's just been a really neat experience to be invited into something so special and to see my child thrive. It's the best partnership a parent could ask for.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today, Ms. Fauner. And then Dr. Hill, if you can wrap us up and just tell us, just if someone's only watching these last couple seconds of the video chat, what would you just like them to know about Valor? I know one very specific thing is that you guys still have openings and you can still apply. There's a link in the comments, but what else would you like to share?
Yeah, we educate our students in wisdom and in virtue, for authentic freedom and a full human life. And I wish that you were on campus, that we were all on campus today to see that happening in our students, in our faculty, in our family. It's a lot of organizations that have a great website and use a lot of great ideas, but you don't see that actually happening. But Valor is one of those places where that happens. And I've seen it in my own children, and it's just such a delight to work there every day, and I consider it a tremendous privilege and a gift to be able to serve. So please apply, and we'd love to have you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you all, and we will see you guys next time on our Facebook Live. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.